Ron Kruck with SuperBook Sports, joined by the former Bellator lightweight champion and now the UFC's #4 ranked lightweight, Michael Chandler, as he prepares for his massive UFC 268 battle with #2 ranked Justin Gaethje. Michael, I know this is crunch time. I appreciate the time, my man.
Of course, it is crunch time, man. But this is all part of it, man. I love the sport of mixed martial arts. I love who I get to compete against, where I get to compete. UFC 268 is going to be a banger of a card, top to bottom. So I'm excited to be there.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. Let's talk about this event itself first, Michael. UFC 268, November 6th, is going down from the iconic Madison Square Garden in New York City. What does it mean to you to fight in an arena with so much history to it?
It's awesome. You know, I think I always say when you get into the sport of mixed martial arts, or when you're a young mixed martial artist, you're thinking about the dream, you're thinking about becoming a world champion. You want the biggest fights on the biggest stages in the biggest cities in the biggest arenas. And it doesn't get any bigger than Madison Square Garden in New York City. Even especially thinking about the last year and a half of the way the world has gone and all the different headlines that we've seen in New York City and small businesses struggling and all those things. It's going to be such an amazing night of a huge fight card of the biggest promotion in the mixed martial arts world, the UFC coming there and putting together a really ridiculous fight card. And then you think about it as an athlete, so for the fans, it's a dream come true with a top to bottom ton of fights. A ton of great fights. And then as an athlete, warming up in the same locker room as Mike Tyson, Muhammad Ali, making the same exact walk, fighting in the same within a couple feet of where these other legends of combat sports have fought, where they've competed, where they have shed blood, where they have gotten their hand raised or felt the pain of defeat. There's just so much history there. And I'm excited about it. I'm excited for every fight that I get, but this one's got a little extra special twinge to it for so many different reasons.
Absolutely. Great breakdown, as the spotlight will be on the Big Apple for UFC 268. Michael, you and Justin Gaethje have been two of the sport's top lightweights for really some time. You both spent time in the Bellator promotion. Now you're experienced great success in the UFC. In my opinion, I think you guys have similar fighting styles and backgrounds as well. Have you felt that you two have maybe been on a collision course, and that really there was no doubt that one day you'd be facing him inside the octagon?
100%. Whenever I made the decision over a year ago, when I was still in Bellator about to fight my last fight out, I knew I was going to test the free agency market. And truthfully, I hoped that I ended up in the UFC. That's where I wanted to go. And it all worked out well for me. But Justin Gaethje winning world titles outside of the UFC, the coming into the UFC, kicking down the door, making himself known, fighting for a title, being a perennial top 3, top 5 guy, holding the interim title. And then myself coming in a very similar path, came in, made a statement, knocked out #4, #5, and Dan Hooker at the time, getting the title shot. Both of us fell short in our title shot aspirations, which has only fueled both of us. So now both of us get to come together, as you said, in that collision course, meeting in the center of the octagon, in the center of Madison Square Garden, hungrier than ever, because we saw, the epitome of accomplishment inside the sport is becoming the #1 guy in the world, fighting for the UFC title and winning the UFC title. We both failed at that within the last 6 months to a year. So now it's time to recalibrate, get back in the win column, and solidify ourselves as the #1 contender. Justin Gaethje believes he's the #1 contender. Right. I believe with a win on November 6th, I become the #1 contender, the next title challenger after the December 11th card with Oliveira versus Poirier fighting for the title. So there's a lot at stake at the world's most iconic arena. Justin Gaethje and I have win, lose, or draw. We've never been in a boring fight. The fans will be the beneficiaries of us stepping in the octagon together. We have been on a collision course, and we're cut from the same cloth. Small town, middle class wrestling families, all Americans in college, coming into mixed martial arts and now having a wealth of success. And it turns out we got to go out there and trade blows. So here goes some fisticuffs right there in Madison Square Garden.
If that breakdown doesn't get you pumped up, I don't know what will, but I'm going to try it too, Michael, adding a little more fuel to the fire here. There's been some trash talk between you two. He actually said it's been a while since he fought a guy he, quote, didn't like. and it was something about your face that makes him want to punch you. What was your reaction to that statement?
My reaction was, I mean, I can't change my face. You know, I can't change it. This is what God gave me. You know, I'm not trying to go get plastic surgery and change my face. This is the one I got, and I'm going to have it for the next 80 years.
Yes, it is.
But, you know, it's, you know, normally when you hear guys talk about, I just don't like this guy, or I want to go to the darkness, or I'm willing to die out there. I want to go out on my shield. Most of the time that's blunder. But when Justin Gaethje says it, he truly believes it. And I think as mixed martial artists, as competitors, we are all driven by certain things. I am not necessarily driven by, you know, needing to drum up some kind of evil feeling animosity towards my opponent. I just want to go out there and compete. Justin Gaethje is a little bit different. He has to convince himself that he doesn't like me, hates my face, wants to punch me in the face, and all these different things. And that's just the way that he's motivated, and that's completely fine. That's why we you know, are the beneficiaries of him being driven by that, because every single time we get to watch him fight, we're entertained. So it just so happens that I want to be on the other side of those 4-ounce gloves. So, you know, it's part of it. You know, I think Justin Gaethje, there's a mutual amount of respect, whether he dislikes me now until, you know, right after one of us gets our hand raised on November 6th. He can dislike me, you know, all he wants, and he can get motivated all he wants. But he and I know there is a mutual respect, because you can't see a guy's fight style and watch Justin Gaethje and not respect him. You can't see the way that I fight, watch the way that I go out there and the way that I do and handle business inside and outside of the octagon, and not have a certain level of respect for me. So there's mutual respect. All that goes out the window whenever November 6th and the bell rings and we go out there, we put on a show for the fans.
Well, you were spot on. Neither of you have ever had a boring fight. I know that fight fans will attest to that. You are two fighters that really have made a living taking out your opponents. When you look at this matchup, Michael, what do you think is going to be the biggest key to you getting a victory at UFC 268?
It's a hard one. It's a hard one to look at. You know, I mean, obviously, as a fighter, I've as the athlete inside of it, we've put together a game plan. We've watched a lot of tape. We've seen certain deficiencies in different areas where he leaves himself open, different areas where he can be exploited. And I'm sure he's done the exact same thing. He's got a phenomenal coach in Trevor Whitman, a phenomenal training camp out there in Colorado, and I have just as good of one. In my mind, of course, I think it's better. But Henry Hoofton, the stable of guys at Sanford Mixed Martial Arts. So. We've put together a great game plan, but you know, we're so similar that it's really hard to know what's going to work. You know, it's the age old, you know, everybody's got a game plan, so you get punched in the face. And I think when you kind of back out of that and look at that, what that really means is you can have a game plan and you can have a way that you expect a fight to go, but really all of us fighters have just put in our 10,000 hours on the feet and on the ground and in the grappling and in the weight room and in the kitchen, making sure that we are keeping our body in tip-top shape. We've put in those 10,000 hours in all of those different areas, and it comes together inside the confines of mixed martial arts. So really, you're just reacting and you're responding and you're making split-second decisions that may or may not be the right decision, may or may not be where you wanted the fight to go, and you can never quite know where it's going to go. But all signs point towards him wanting to sling leather, me wanting to sling leather, us both going for the knockout early and often. If the fight goes to the ground, it does, but both of us are going to be looking for that knockout and looking for a knockout in dominant fashion very quickly, go collect a paycheck.
Yeah, do not blink in this fight. There's no doubt about it. Similar fighting styles, similar success in the octagon. And really, Michael, the odds makers have this as a very even fight. Current odds from SuperBook Sports has Gaethje as the favorite, Michael. He comes in at -185. The comeback on you as the underdog is +165. What's your reaction to being the dog?
I like being the dog. I do. You know, I mean, I think, you know, Justin Gaethje lost his last fight. I lost my last fight, but I lost my last fight more recently. So people have seen me. The odds makers have seen me lose. And kind of, you know, time heals everything. You can forget how badly he got beaten by Khabib over a year ago at this point. Right. But also, Justin Gaethje has more of a name. He has more of a more dominant wins, more of a tenure inside of the UFC. I'm still very new to the UFC. It seems to most people, and even to myself, that I've been signed to the UFC for 3 years or 4 years, because so much stuff has happened since I signed with the UFC. But I signed with the UFC in September of last year, so I'm only a little over 13 months into being signed with the UFC. So I'm still a relatively new name inside the UFC, albeit I've had some big fights and some big performances that have thrusted me and kept me inside that top 5 of the lightweight division. But it makes complete sense. The odds makers are smart. They know fight sports in and out, especially at SuperBook. So I love being the dog. I love having my back up against the wall. I love being that little bit of doubt going into a fight from a certain contingent of people. And I want to go out there and make a bunch of people some money when they bet with Sportsbook. SuperBook.
There you go. I love it. And SuperBook Sports is offering a UFC 268 knockout special. Place $68 or greater on the money line in either the main or co-main event of UFC 268, and that's between October 27th and November 6th. And you will receive a $5 bonus voucher for every knockout, TKO, or DQ that occurs during the entire UFC 268 fight card. That includes the early prelims and the main card. A great promotion that SuperBook Sports is offering. Michael, your thoughts on that wager?
I love it. It's $68 to get in on that. And when you look at fighting in 4-ounce gloves, you look at, and we got to back it all the way back up to Madison Square Garden. I mean, most everybody on this card has not fought there yet. When you get the opportunity to fight on the biggest stage, on the biggest card of the year, you're going out there fighting for more than just your paycheck. You want to get bonuses. You want to push harder. There's a spirit inside of Madison Square Garden that's going to carry you into more power, more knockouts, more timing, more footwork, more tenacity to be able to go out there and get those finishes. And as you said, TKOs and KOs, people are going to be pulling in $5 checks here and there. Those are going to stack up and they can make a bunch of future bets. So I love it. I love that SuperBook's doing it. And I hope I can make a bunch of people $5.
And I can't wait. We're going to host a SuperBook Sports watch party at the Lodge here in Colorado in Central City. And I'm sure people will be rooting for a lot of finishes at UFC 268. Michael, before we let you go, why should fight fans purchase this massive UFC 268 pay-per-view?
This is the biggest card I think that the UFC has assembled all year. 2 title fights in the co-main and the main. My fight against Justin Gaethje in that third to last slot, what's being dubbed by a lot of people as the People's Main Event, the People's World Championship. Of course, there's belts on the line in the co-main, in the main, but me and Justin Gaethje plan on going in there, stealing the show, and I plan on going out there and getting my hand raised. If you don't buy this fight card, I'm not sure if you are actually a fight fan. So I look forward to going out there and putting on a great show for the fans, as I always do. And I can't wait for November 6th.
Well, get in on the action and sign up with the best sports book on the planet by going to superbook.com. Download the SuperBook app today and make sure you are following us on social media at SuperBook Sports for the latest lines and promotions. Michael Chandler, thank you for the time, my man, and we will see you at UFC 268.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Ron.